I think most people know that Germany censored many games and also movies, and sometimes people will even make fun of you for it if you're German, like them telling you that you need a babysitter and that they can even call you one, if you need one. Or maybe that just happened to me, I don't know. Here games have to go through two different institutions, die USK, Unterhaltungssoftware Selbstkontrolle, or Entertainment Software Self-Regulation in English, and also the Bundeszentrale für Kinder- und Jugendmedienschutz, which basically translates to the Federal Office for Media that can potentially be harmful for young people. Yeah, I know, those are some long words, and if I have to read a single poop and farten joke, I will lose my mind, but now that I'm saying this, people will probably do it anyways, just to annoy me with it, because it's the only thing that I can't stand. Those words people make up don't even sound German at all with those poop and farten jokes, they sound more like Dutch instead, but anyways. The USK is basically the German version of the PAGI, which other European countries use, while Americans use the ESRB, the Entertainment Software Rating Board. All of them use numbers to define what age group should be allowed to play what game, to tell parents what their kids should play or shouldn't play. But the difference is that the German version of it was way more strict, especially back in the day. In America, most games could be released uncut, with a mature rating to show, hey, that's not for kids. Here in Germany, if a game gets an 18+ rating, it can still be censored to hell and back, because I guess Germany thought adults don't deserve to play games in their original version, because some parents would buy adult games for their kids anyways, which you can't really stop from happening even if you censor them, so why make it also worse for adults? And here comes also the Bundeszentrale für Kinder- und Jugendmedienschutz into play. If they say a game is still too brutal after getting censored, or if the publisher does not want to censor it, they can put it onto the index. If a game lands on the index, you are not allowed to sell it in public or even display it at all. You also can't send those games per mail order. The only way to get those games is basically going to a store you know that carries those kind of games and having them bring it to you from some back room where they store it so no little kiddo or young teenager can get to it and ask their mommy or daddy to get it for them. Many brutal games landed on there, even some huge ones like GTA San Andreas, Gears of War, or also Little Britain, the video game. The 360 and PS3 era was full of games getting indexed. I hope that's a real word, left and right, and even some Wii games got hit like Mad World or the Dead Rising port. But after that generation it somehow just kinda stopped, and when I checked the list of the recent games on the index, it was two anime games, Criminal Girls 2 and Valkyrie Drive. I can see why Criminal Girls 2 got banned in this way, because it has a lot of little girls getting kinda naked, but Valkyrie Drive, no idea why, like I saw a trailer and it has big fucking anime tits. But anyways, normally the games on the index are indexed for 25 years, but sometimes games get taken off of it also earlier, since depending on their age, some games just look pretty cartoonish in relation to modern standards of graphics and not realistic at all anymore. For example, something like Doom or Half-Life. If developers and publishers still wanted to publish and get their games onto the market in Germany without wanting to get their game banned, they had to change a few things here and there. One of the more popular changes was to remove red blood and just replace it with green blood, or just remove it at all. Or also just turn the enemies into robots instead. One of the biggest examples in German censorship about video games is or was the removal of the swastikas, also called Hakenkreuze in German, in the German versions of video games, even if you play as the good guys, which makes no sense. Games like Wolfenstein never tried to make the player feel bad about killing Nazis. It always showed that they are the bad guys, but despite that, those games either got banned or had to be recensored to a great extent, always removing Nazi symbols but also dialing down the brutality. In movies, for example, it was allowed to show Hakenkreuze because movies are seen as art, and in art it is okay to show them. And obviously it makes a lot of sense to show them in documentaries about World War II, but also in normal movies like Indiana Jones, they were allowed to be shown, even though it's mostly a movie that makes you want to have fun, instead of being a movie that tries to educate you. And that's because video games weren't considered art in Germany for a long time. For example, the LucasArts Indiana Jones game of The Last Crusade had to get its swastikas censored, even though in the movies they were shown. In 2018 the USK actually changed it though, and nowadays games are also allowed to show them, as long as they are not there for glorification. Then it's good night for the symbols, but most likely for the game itself, because, well, I don't really have to explain why you wouldn't want a game where you play as a Nazi who is portrayed as the good guy. That wouldn't fly in any kind of case. And that's a good thing. Fuck the Nazis, and also fuck the Nazis for fucking up a totally normal religious symbol that is mostly found in the Hindu, Buddhist, and Jain communities. I remember reading the Naruto manga as a kid because it was published in the German manga magazine Banzai, which was like a German version of the Shonen Jump, and in Naruto there is a character called Neji, who normally covers up his forehead with a forehead protector thingy, but takes it off at one point in the story to show his sad backstory, and it's revealed that he has a swastika, also called Manji symbol, on his forehead. As a kid I thought, hey, wait a minute, what? In the anime it got changed to not resemble a swastika anymore, to probably not confuse other people like me who didn't know the swastika even had or has a different meaning. It's sad how a bad group of people can just take a symbol and change its meaning to ruin it for everyone and kind of forever. Again, fuck Nazis. But even aside from those Nazi problems, many games in Germany got censored for lots of gore and blood. One game that got totally butt-shot was Soldier of Fortune 2, a game that is mostly known for its brutality, but it was also kinda ahead of other games with the way it handled dismemberment. You could shoot someone's arm and it would just blow off. You could even shoot the guts out of their tummy, holy heck, a real game for real adults. Unless you play the German version, where all the enemies are turned into robots and instead of blood splattering everywhere when you shoot enemies, there's just sparks flying around and the enemies mostly don't even have a death animation anymore, since those got removed too. Same with bloodstains on the walls, no more pools of blood, you couldn't even put enemies onto fire anymore. At that point, why even bother censoring it? The brutality and gore was kinda the whole point of the game. Without it, it's an rather average shooter, unlike Half-Life, which is also still a bit fun in its censored version, but obviously, if possible, you should always play the original version. Just like in Soldier of Fortune 2, the enemies got turned into robots and no more blood, and it kinda just ruins the whole atmosphere of the game. Not even the aliens bleed. Like, you would expect them to change their blood to green, but nope, no blood at all. Good for the aliens though, but you kill them anyway, so maybe not so good. Half-Life 2 also got censored. Corpses disappear really quickly, which also happened in Half-Life 1, but unlike Half-Life 1, the sequel got physics and ragdolls and all that fancy stuff, so you can't have fun with their corpses anymore. That sounded kinda wrong, but we all had fun with corpses in video games before, right? Doing silly and funny things with them because in most games they move around in a funny way. And even Portal got hit by sensors. How do you ask? By turning the blood grey when you get hit by one of the turrets in one of the chambers. Wowzers. Aside from that, even the other game on the orange box got censored. Team Fortress 2. All the characters are robots or machines now, despite looking the exact same as usual. They don't bleed anymore, but instead they're just sparks again, and when the characters explode, they don't explode into their body parts, but instead they explode into things like hamburgers, wobbly ducks, feathers, screws, etc. Which is in one way really funny and fits the style of the game a little bit more, at least for me, but obviously it also kinda sucks. Even the blood in the Meaty Soldier video got its color changed to black to make it look like machine oil instead of real blood. Nowadays it's uncensored though, just like the other Valve games. But also in Counter-Strike Source and in the very early days of Global Offensive, the German versions were censored. Instead of dying and getting killed, the characters you shoot would just surrender and lay down on the floor, and it's just also funny to look at for how dumb it looks. Especially since the Counter-Strike games are not even brutal in comparison to other shooters, so I don't know why they had to censor those games. Enough Valve games though. In GTA 3 for example, you can normally beat up civilians and when they fly to the ground, you can still beat them on there, totally defenseless. But not in the German version. The player character can just not hit them anymore when they're on the ground and instead he just hits the air instead. And there's no blood at all. Headshots don't blow the heads off anymore, no more shooting of other body parts, and the worst part of it all, nobody drops money anymore. No more free money after killing people. How am I gonna earn money now? All of these changes also apply to Vice City and San Andreas. Call of Duty World at War was the first Call of Duty with the now immensely popular and iconic zombie game mode, but in Germany it was completely removed because the zombies were Nazis. It makes zero sense at all. Isn't shooting Nazis even if they're zombies a good thing? So if you bought the German version you got less content for your money, which just sucks, especially if you didn't know about it. Imagine trying to play with your international friends and they tell you about this cool zombie mode and you just go, I don't have that, what? One of the most censored games I could find was Saints Row 2. There's so many moves to remove, like katana moves to cut people, or also weapons like chainsaws. One of the big gameplay mechanics in this game was also being able to grab people and use them as a human shield. Not possible in the German version. Not even the enemy NPCs can do it either. In some missions you're even required to use that move to grab people and throw them to their death, but in the German version you just shoot them instead. But even in-game cutscenes where bad things happen got censored, but in the worst way possible. Instead of changing them, they just gonna put a black screen onto them with the text "Wir bitten um Verzeihung. Sehr böse Dinge passieren hinter diesem schwarzen Bildschirm", which translates to basically "We are sorry, very bad things are happening behind the black screen." Kinda funny, but like in this cutscene where a girl smokes a light bulb, or anytime someone gets shot or hurt, but you know, they didn't even try. It's important to not let kids play something not for their age. And that's why age ratings are really important, but here in Germany it was just too strict, even for the adults. In the end it was always up to the parents anyways if they allow their kid to play games not made for their age or not. Mine were fairly strict with it, but I still managed to play games like GTA or Counter-Strike, and it hasn't turned me into an evil person. At least I don't think I'm evil. And nowadays most games get through the whole process without getting censored or outright banned. So I think Germany finally understood that adults don't need to be babysitted too. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did you could leave a like or maybe a sub, but only if you really want to. I'm really hungry right now, so I would also allow a sub from Subway. This is not a sponsored ad, so I don't get paid for this. See you next time maybe, and have yourself a good one.